Welcome back, guys. This is Precious Iriaevho again, and let's continue from where we stopped. We stopped at math methods. So the next data type we'll be talking about is what we know as BigInt. BigInt is a short form for big integer, and JavaScript BigInt variables are used to store big integer values that are too big to be represented by a normal JavaScript number. So let's create a file for this. I'm going to create a new file and I'm just going to call this more data type because we will do a lot with this particular file so that we can proceed. So I'll just call this more data types. And I'll put all we have in here, clear the script tag, and just call this more data type. So what are we talking about? We are talking about JavaScript BigInt or big integer. The problem with JavaScript has to do with integer accuracy because integers are only accurate up to 15 digits. Let's see this in action. Let's create two variables, x and y. So for x, we'll just create, let's say, 15 values, okay? So let's use 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, now let's duplicate this and call this variable y and add one more 8. So this is 16 y. So you will see why BigInt is important for us. I'm going to console log both of them, console log x and console log y. Let's see what happens. So first I need to open up the file more data types, then open the console because we are doing it in the console. And as you can see, we actually do have 8, but we have a problem with what we call precision. Okay, if I change this to 9, let's see what becomes of it. So instead of 8, so let me just use a find and replace and turn this to 9. Okay, you know what, let me just type it out. Or anywhere there's an 8, let's make it 9. Replace all. Good. Save. Now let's reload. And as you can see, we have a problem because what we typed here was 99999, and it's supposed to show us the same thing, 99 everywhere. But instead, because of the precision issue, JavaScript has turned 999 to 1000 whatever. But imagine you're doing calculations in your program. This is not how you want it to behave. And this is why big integer is important. So how do we create a big integer? That's very, very easy. All you need to do is just add n at the back. So if I add n at the back of this value, n, it has become a big integer. Okay, so this first one is an integer. And this second one that has n at the back is what we call BigInt. So let's reload and see what happens to our value. Now you can see it is behaving properly because now it is showing itself as a big integer with the n just at the back. So it's telling you now that there is precision taking place. Another way to create a big integer is, so I can call this one z. So instead of having n at the back, you can use the big integer method. Okay, so you can just use the big integer. It's called BigInt. BigInt. Then open the brackets and put in the value in there. Okay, so let's console log z2 and see what we have. So reload, and as you can see, we also have this as 100n. But as you can see, it is better to work with what we call it's better to work with the n just at the back, okay? But let's try to clean this up. So I'll just try to make them all look the same. And copy this here. It's still a big int. Reload. And as you can see, we have the same values now. So the first one is an integer. The other two are big int. If you create an application that would involve calculations that needs very big numbers, then obviously you will be using what we call the big int. So let's see what it says on the console. What if we check the type of all these variables? So I'm going to use typeof. Remember, we talked about it before. I will still try to touch it again. So typeof, and let's see. You can see the first one is a number, but the other two are big integers. So you see we actually created a big integer. All right. Also, the next thing I want you to understand is you cannot do mathematical expressions with a big int and normal integer. So let's try it. Let's say I want to add x to y. Is that possible? I don't know. Let's check it out. So add is equals to x plus y. Remember, I'm adding integer or number to a big int. And let's console log add. You can see it's not possible. It says cannot mix big int and other types. Use explicit conversion. So what this means is if we want to do this, we have to convert the big integer to a number. So how do we do that? We just say number and put in the variable y. So now it will become an integer and the mathematical expression can proceed. And as you can see, we've been able to add both of them. So obviously there isn't much on big int. It's just safe that you know it in case you're working with very big numbers. But if not, well, let's go to the next one. The next one is Boolean. A JavaScript Boolean represents one of two values, true or false. That's Boolean. So very often in programming, you will need a data type that can only have one of two values, like, yes or no, on or off, true or false, up or down, something like that. So for this, JavaScript has a Boolean data type and it can only take the values of true or false. So let's see how Boolean is going to make our life very, very easy. So let's go back to our file and see what we can do there. So coming back to our file, I want to use this file, so I will just comment out these guys. So let me put big int right at the top here. That's why I called it more data type instead of creating a new file. So now we are in Booleans. Let's create some variable. Let bool1 is equal to true and let bool2 equal to false. This is exactly how Boolean looks, okay? So they are words, but they are not strings. Don't look at them as strings, okay? They are not strings, except you put them in quotes. But the way they are simply Booleans. And what can we do? We can be more descriptive. You can say, let light is on. True. Okay? So the basic idea is just Boolean will take true or false as its value. Anything else won't work with Boolean. So we can check the type of just to confirm if we are on track. So we can check type of bool1. Let's see what we have. And as you can see, we have Boolean right there. So we are dealing with Boolean exactly. Also, we can check something simple just to test out Boolean to tell you that JavaScript is very brilliant. What if we do something like console.log 10 greater than 5? That's true, right? Let's see if JavaScript knows that. You can see it says true. What if we change it to less than? We know that's false. 10 is not less than 5. Let's check this out and see. You see, that is false. So it's pretty straightforward. And before I go further, I want you to know something. Everything that has a value is true, and everything without a value is false. Let me write this out here. So let's comment this out and let me write it out. When it comes to Boolean, everything that has a value is true. It doesn't matter what the value is except 0. Okay? And everything without a value is false. That includes 0. 0 has no value, so 0 is false. Okay? So that is it. 0 is false, minus 0 is false, undefined is false, null is false. Talking about null and undefined, the next data type we'll be talking about is what we call undefined. Now, undefined, as you know, as an English word, means something that is not defined. But as you see, when a variable has not been assigned a value, it is referred to as undefined. So let's go back. Remember when we created our variables back then, we said you can create them in different ways. So let's say I create a variable called name, but I did not assign a value to it. Okay? If I console this variable, console.log of name, can you guess what it will throw out for me? Let's see. Undefined. You know why? Because it's a variable we've created, but it has no value. The fact that it has no value is why it is undefined. Simple as ABC. When you create a variable that has no value, it is an undefined variable. But there is something better than undefined. And what is that, guys? This leads us to null. So it is not good to just create a variable and leave it undefined. So null is used when you want to say that a variable is defined but has no actual value or is empty. So instead of creating a variable and not giving it a value, why don't you just say null? So this takes us back to what we did here previously. Okay, null. So instead of saying let name, why not let's just say let first name? So instead of saying let first name and I leave it like this, no, don't leave it. Instead, if you don't know what the first name of the person is, you can say null. Just leave it as null so that it will not be undefined. Okay? So when it is null, at least you know that it has no value. So it is better to use null instead of leaving your values or your variables as undefined. And it is case sensitive, so don't just write null in capital letter, like true and false. Don't put those ones in capital letter. Everything null, true and false should always be in small letters. Okay? I believe that is clear. So anything that is null has no value. And when you create a variable that you don't know what the value would be, please make it null. Okay? Make it null. Now let's proceed. We are moving very fast. And if I'm too fast for you, please take the video backward and replay. You would understand it. And if you do understand, congratulations. Let's go to the next slide. Symbol. Symbol is a new data type that was created recently. To be honest, personally, I have not found real use for it, but just because of the future, and I know that people will search for this, I would want to explain it to you in case you ever come across this data type called symbol. Symbol can be used when it is important that variables are not equal, even though their type and value are the same. Okay? Don't worry. Look at what I'll do now. You will understand symbol now. Let's create some variables. Okay, symbol. We want to work with symbol. Now, let's create string 1. Okay? And let's give it a name. Let's say JavaScript is a nice language. Pretty simple, straightforward variable we've created. This is a string. But let's do something. String 2 and string 1, they have the same value. Look, JavaScript is a nice language and they have the same data type. They are both strings. If you think I'm lying, let's do something. Console.log. I've not done this before, so I'll do it now so that you understand. These two, so you can write something inside of your console. These two strings are same. Okay, so we want to check if they are same really, and let's use a comparison. Don't worry if you don't understand what is happening here, but when you have 3 equal to sign, it means that you want to check if something are equal both in value and in type. That's what I've done, but don't worry, I will explain 3 equal to sign in our subsequent comparison video. But for now, just know that I'm trying to check if they are the same both in type and in value. Now let's reload this. You can see these two strings are the same, and look, it says true because truly they are both the same. Check it again. The same sentence. Everything is the same. The way there's capital letter here, there's capital letter here, and they are both strings. But when it comes to symbol, symbol can help you to make them different. Okay, so let's do that. I will now say, let's say sim1. I will just use sim, and to create a symbol, you just use this. You write the word symbol, open brackets, and I will copy the same text and put in there. And I will duplicate this and call it sim2. They look the same, right? Now let's blow your mind. This is where symbol does it for you. Symbol look at them as 2 different variables, okay? And it tells you that they are different. So these 2 symbols are the same. Then I'll change the variable name while dealing with sim. Let's confirm. Let's reload. And as you can see, these 2 symbols are same. Like it said false. They are not the same. But the 2 above are true. That is, these ones above, they are true. But when you make them symbol, they are not true. Don't worry, if this is confusing for you, you can pause the video and rewatch. But it's not that serious. But I just want you to know it. At least if you find it in your future, you can always come back to this video to, rewatch this explanation that I've just given. Now, the next thing I want us to look at is analyzing data type. We can analyze data type by checking the type of. Remember, I was using type of before. Right now, I'm going to show you how to work with it. So type of. You use type of to know what data type you're dealing with. Even though I've done this once, with one of the, I think, string and number, let's redo it. So let's analyze this data type, and we will use type of. So I'm going to create some series of console logs. So the first one I will create is type of, and I will just put a string inside. Hello, that's a string. I can duplicate. Then this one I will put in a number. So let's say 45. The next one, let's try to see if we can get something for an integer, for a big integer. Remember, you have to put n at the back to get a big integer. Also, let's check the type of true. True without quotes is a Boolean. Then let's also check for symbol. You know how to create a symbol. You write symbol, then you put in your string. I can say hello again. Then also, let's check for undefined, right? Let's see what undefined is. Undefined. We know what it is, but let's go ahead and see if we can get a type for it. And the last but not the least is null. Remember null, guys? Let's go for it. Now let's save this and check what we have on our console. And as you can see, the console says the string is a string, number is a number, it says hello is a string, 45 is a number, 456834n is a big integer, true is a boolean, symbol hello is a symbol, undefined is a type undefined, but null is type object. Are you surprised? Well, it's not a problem. So type null, which is an object, is actually what JavaScript people want you to see it as. It's not an object, it's null. It was a bug, but it's a bug that we are going to live with. All right. Now, last but not the least, on our slide, let's see what we have there. Changing data type. So when you have data type, you can change them around. And how do you change them around? Pretty straightforward. Remember, we have some variables here already. We have y, which is a big int. We have x, which is an integer. We have bool, which is true. So let's see if we can change if we can change our variables. So changing variables, you can use boolean to change any variable to a boolean, then string to change any variable to a string, and number, which you've seen me use already, to change a variable to a number. So if I want to change this big int, let me take it from here, let me copy it here and drop it here. Well, let me just copy everything here, comment this out, copy this, comment everything out. So let's bring it down here. I want to change them. So this was formerly an integer big int. If I want to change this integer to a string, all I need to do is just to, let's do it, console.log, okay? And if I say typeof, and I convert it to a string directly, type of x, you know, remember x is an integer here, but I've turned it to a string by saying string x, and I'm checking the type of. Let's see, it should show us string. You see, it has become a string. Same thing you can do, you can change a boolean to a string to a boolean. So I'm going to leave this for you, you know, to do the experimentations on your own, because I know you've learned a lot already. And while you are there, anticipate the next video, because we would be talking about what I call, or what they call, JavaScript operators. Okay, then after operators, we'll go back to our data types and we'll talk about objects, array, and dates after operators. So guys, it was nice having you, and I'll see you in the next one. Precious out.